Hey everybody, I'm back for part 2 of my eBay versus Etsy listing challenge. 30 objects in 30 days on both platforms. I'm tracking not only sales to see which platform does better, but I'm also tracking clicks and followers and trying to improve those things. Mainly though, I'm hoping to jumpstart sales on both platforms. I'm hoping that this will result not only in immediate sales, but future sales. I was on vacation mode for most of February on both platforms because of traveling to and from the Nashville Antique Show, and it always takes a while for sales to return for me when I've been on vacation mode. April always seems to be a sluggish month too because of tax time, so I'm really hoping to jumpstart some sales in March before it drops off in April. I'm certain eBay would do better in this sales challenge because it's always done better, but it's more about jump-starting sales and gaining more followers on both platforms. The followers are so important for Etsy sales especially. Before we look at the sales and the listings and everything from the last 2 weeks, I want to talk more about my listing strategy and selling strategy online in general. Typically, I list items on eBay after first trying the items out in social media. I sell more items on social media than I do anywhere else, so this is a good way for me to move stuff before paying to list it online. Obviously, the listing fees aren't that high, but of course, I really want to sell this way because it saves me on the final value fees, the commission fees. While I don't mind selling on eBay, I would prefer not to. I would rather sell everything on my website or social media, but eBay is a great outlet for me, and right now a necessary outlet for me. Some merchandise I sell directly to clients I know would like an item. Like I get something and I just send them an email or something. These items sell before ever appearing online. I also do a monthly email sales blast with about 5 to 8 items and usually sell around half. After that, my next avenue is social media. I have a business accounts on both Facebook and Instagram and usually sell 2 to 3 items a week that way. I also utilize Facebook groups and sell another 3 to 10 items a month that way. Typically, in the past, I try all of these avenues first before listing on eBay or Etsy. Also, if an item is really a collectible, such as a comic or action figure or baseball card, it'll go right on eBay first, as I don't have the right social media following for those items. Besides selling items online or through direct contact, I sell merchandise at shows and antique malls and through auction houses. So eBay and Etsy aren't my primary or most important mode of selling merchandise, but they are very important. At one time, I did 18 or more shows a year. Now I'm down to 6 to 7 or 8. I do Brimfield 2 to 3 times a year. I do Nashville once a year. Fisherville, Virginia is twice a year. And then New Hampshire Antiques Weeks, which I do one show as a vendor and shop the other shows. This past year, while traveling, I also set up at an antique show in Pennsylvania and another in New Hampshire. But I did those primarily to buy during setup. In fact, a big part of the reason I do any shows throughout the year is to buy during setup. But even including that, I still average about 20 sales per show. For some shows, buying during setup is the main reason I do the show. For others, it's 50-50 between buying and selling. A good month on eBay right now is 20 sales. In fact, I did 120 sales total in 2022, so an average of 10 sales per month. Looks like they also averaged about $1,500, just over $1,500 a month in sales too. So not a living wage by itself, but not insignificant either. Most months I sell more on Instagram and my email than I do on eBay, but eBay is still a factor in me making a living during this nomadic antique journey. However, Etsy barely matters, which is one reason for the challenge. I want to see if listing more generates more sales on Etsy. It should. Everyone I know who does really well on Etsy has a few hundred listings, so I'm way behind that number. Now, what about buy it nows, best offers, or auctions? I've been a big user of the buy it nows on eBay for years. For a while, I was at maybe 50-50 on buy it nows versus auction listings. However, I do remember in the years like 2015, 2016, I got 3 or 4 good items that I listed on eBay. All of these items I was really excited to buy because I got them for way less than the other comps, comparables that had sold on eBay in the last month or year. However, in every case, my items sold for like the least amount of any or the second to bottom amount of any items. So if an item was averaging between $350 to $450, mine might sell for $325 or $300. Very disappointing for me. So ever since then, I've really focused on buy it nows. I think I did about 5 auctions in the last year. A few of them I started with higher opening bids and they didn't sell, but later sold when relisted with buy it nows above those starting bids. For example, I listed something a starting bid at $99.99 and it didn't sell, but it sold down the road when I relisted it at $125. I think another item I listed similarly and then later sold for a cheaper buy it now than the auction starting price. I also don't use the best offer feature. I try to list at a price that will sell. Of course, sometimes buyers will message me and I'll take less, but I feel if you have the best offer listed, you'll never get the listing price, and it's too much back and forth with offers. Too much of a game, and if you just mark it up to account for the offers, your price might scare off buyers who don't make offers. So I just try to list it at a good selling price to begin with. I like to make it the price tempting enough that it sells right away. Of course, I sell a lot of anonymous, one-of-a-kind folk art, so it's not like there were 3 other ones listed by different sellers competing with my price or object. When I list comics or collectibles, I try to make mine the best buy it now price considering its condition. In the past, I would list an item on eBay first and then follow up by listing it on Etsy 3 or 4 days later. This is because so many of my items sell within a day or two of listing them on eBay. And I just didn't want to do the work to relist it on Etsy and then just delete it 2 days later. Or even, I think deleting listings probably does not help you with the algorithm. So if you can try to avoid that as much as possible. So for me, that meant listing on eBay first just to see if it would sell right away before trying it on Etsy. The cost of listing is minimum, but the work isn't insignificant. For this challenge though, I've been listing items on Etsy first and then immediately right afterwards on eBay. Some of these listings have even been before I've listed the stuff on social media, partly because I'm trying to make sure I list 30 objects in 30 days. My idea behind this was that I wanted a fair comparison between the two platforms. I knew it was already skewed towards eBay for me since I always listed and sold more on there, so Etsy got the slightly earlier listings in this comparison. However, by listing on Etsy and eBay before social media, I might have screwed up the challenge some. I sold a few items on social media and YouTube after listing them and then had to delete the listings. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think the algorithm really cares for you deleting listings. I also, during the middle of the challenge, I redid my booth in Firehouse Antiques in Galena. It's the one place I rent a booth in now. And I decided to add a few items to the booth that were already listed on eBay. These were items that had been on eBay and some of them on Etsy for a while without selling, but I did end up deleting like 4 to 6 listings on each of the platforms. So again, I'm not sure that deleting listings is the best thing for the algorithm. So on to the successes and the failures of the last 2 weeks. Now I am 3 weeks into the challenge. I ended up getting a total of 23 items listed in the 3 weeks. So I have another 7 items to go in the final 9 days to get to the 30 listings in 30 days. Just like in the first week, I tried to spread the listings out as much as possible. So I didn't list like 8 items in one day and then go a week and then list another 8 items. On days I list items, I try to list 2 or 3, and then some days I don't list any at all. I also tried to avoid listing items on Friday and Saturday. This might be still a holdover when I did nothing but auctions and I never had an auction ending on Fridays and Saturdays because those seem to be bad times to have auctions end. Once again, I did not sell anything on Etsy. It's been 3 weeks of the challenge and 0 Etsy sales so far. However, the views are way up. I've also gained some followers on Etsy, which will be really important for future sales. If you've shopped a lot on Etsy, you've probably realized they don't have the best search engine. I've actually had a friend send me a screenshot of a listing once, and I was like, oh, I want to look at that listing. And it took me forever to find it just using all of the keywords from the title. I would search it, and then it still wouldn't be anywhere near the top of the listing. So if you searched on Etsy, you realize that the search engine is really skewed towards like what they call best match. Having followers is super important because every time you list something, the followers get a notification that you've listed stuff. So I really want to gain followers. So this has been helpful with that. However, I did sell 4 items in the last 2 weeks on eBay. Not a super high number, but 4 is better than 0 for sure. 1 item sold within like an hour of listing it. This went to a previous customer who I believe also follows me. And it was a trench art, a hammered trench art folk art shell from World War II. That's the same thing they bought from me the first time. So clearly they are looking for those. Another item sold within 36 hours of being listed on eBay. A third item was something I listed at the start of the challenge and has just sold. So it took about 2 weeks to sell. And the 4th item that sold was something that's been listed for months. And like I said, I had to end all the items that I took to Firehouse plus the other items that sold outside of eBay and Etsy. I did send an offer on one of the items that resulted in a sale. So I don't have eBay set up to take offers. I have the best offer turned off on my listings. I just, like I said, I just listed with a buy it now. but I will from time to time use the feature where you can send offers to people who are watching the item. I suspect the algorithm rewards sellers who do this, plus it obviously can result in the sale of the specific item. But it seems to improve your standings with the algorithm, because it seems like whenever I do this, I almost always sell something else that I did not send the offer on. It's kind of like the algorithm just likes to see you using all of their tools and being an aggressive seller. I don't know, if you search for things on eBay, which the search engine is definitely better than Etsy, it's still, they list stuff by this best match feature. And of course, where your listings end up in that best match are important for selling, because people won't necessarily go through 10 pages of listings. They'll find the first one that sort of meets their demands. Of course, they can change it to search by ending soonest, most recently listed, or price. But if they just use that best match feature, you really want the algorithm to love you, because you want to be higher up in those listings. I also don't promote many items on eBay. Currently, maybe 10 of my listings are promoted. I know some sellers promote everything. I just don't know how well it works for me. I'm also not running any ads on Etsy. You can promote your listings on Etsy. I'm not doing that. It's a real catch-22, I think. You have to pay money to sell on the platforms. You're already paying these listing fees, which are pretty minimum, but you're paying the listing fees and you're paying the sales commissions, which are not that, which can add up. So I just don't want to pay even more money to meet the customers on the platform. If I'm going to pay money to drive customers to my listings, I'd rather pay money to drive customers to my website where I don't have to pay sales commissions. So 4 sales in 2 weeks across 2 platforms, not super good. Not good at all. It's weird because I think sales for me in other venues right now have been really strong. I had a random website sale in the last 2 weeks, meaning a new customer, not from social media, not from me sending out email blasts, found my website and bought something. That's kind of rare for my website. I also sold 2 things from YouTube videos during this period, which I do sell stuff from my YouTube videos, but it's not super common to sell 1 item a week or anything. I've also had like 10 to 15 direct sales during this period, meaning I bought something and sent a photo of the person and they ended up buying. That's a little higher than normal for me. Also, my social media sales have been strong. So it's been a really good 2 weeks overall, but a bit disappointing on eBay and Etsy. So that's where I'm at so far. If you're, please look for my next video, my next and final video, which will recap the entire challenge. I'll probably do it about 2 or 3 weeks after the challenge is over. I want to see where all the numbers really land and see if I've driven any sales past the end of the listing challenge. Also, I want to check to see how many followers I've gained, and I'll check the view count one final time. But if you've enjoyed this video and you want to follow more, hit like and subscribe to see all my videos and all my future videos, and follow along on my nomadic antique journey as I travel around the country doing month and 2 month and 3 month long stays in certain places, buying and selling and shipping antiques along the way. Peace.